question. New aspiration. New ambition. Same purpose. Chase supremacy. Us against the world.
A lot of people around the world struggle with mental issues. It's good to get it off your chest. You've got to stay strong, don't lose hope, and speak to someone. You are going to come through it.
When I played football, that was my language, that's how I communicated. And when that was taken away from me, I just felt like I was nothing, I was no one.
I suffer from depression. Depression is with me on a daily basis. It is time for sport to accept its responsibility with this issue.
To play football every day is a dream, and it's not something that I'll ever take for granted. It can take its toll on you mentally, and the only way to come through that is to keep working hard. And it's difficult sometimes because people don't know what you might have been going through off the pitch. They judge you thinking you're at 100% every game and you're feeling 100%, and that's not always the case. It's good to get someone else's perspective on things, pick the person to trust the most and just open up to them. First time you do it, you might be a bit worried of what people might think or what they might say, but when you see the reactions, it's a big relief.
This is why we used to bring cookies.
Good evening, mga pamangkikers, and welcome to the fourth episode of the Eat, Sleep, Breathe Football Show. Um, Today, we wanted to, focus more on a very pressing topic. Actually, it's supposed to be discussed not just today, but every time that we think about our athletes, not only in football, but in general. But the reason why we really wanted to bring this out to you guys is because of you already know what recently happened, um, and we haven't discussed this pre or before the start of the PFL, or even after the PFL or during the PFL. We weren't able to discuss this, so now we were able to reach out and find the people that we need for us to be able to discuss this. So again, welcome to the show. Uh, Basically, what we would like to discuss is about the mental health of our football players, because everyone here, everyone watching the show, and everyone supporting Philippine football, we all know that our players are really good in what they do. We know that they're the experts in their field. However, we tend to forget what they experience off the pitch, what they're thinking off the pitch, how are they off the pitch. So, joining us today is one of our esteemed guests. He's from the Philippine Sports Commission Sports Psychology Unit. And I also have my colleague David Abelio to join us. So let me just introduce our panel for today, or for tonight rather. So we have David Abelio, of course, of Eat Sleep Breathe Football, Pampa Unleashed, and What's Up Football and Formula One show. And with us, Dr. Rodel Canlas of the PSC Sports Psychology Unit. Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. First and foremost, kamusta po kayo in the comforts of your home?
Yeah, I guess okay, still being productive in spite of this term work from home. Yeah, because we need to maximize our time, maximize our effort to deliver, okay, to individuals and persons, okay, to whom we are serving, just like the Filipino athletes.
Mhm.
Yeah, and thank you, Sir Jamie, for inviting me this evening.
Mhm.
The same goes to Sir David, and of course for your listeners or viewers for this evening.
Thank you so much, Doc. Now, yeah, but before we continue with the discussion, Dave, kamusta naman dyan sa sa Italy? I saw your FB post. It's 2 degrees, if I'm not mistaken.
Not 2 degrees, it's negative 2 degrees here in
Oh,
Italy.
really?
And yes, I am wearing 3 layers of clothing right now kasi kahit may ano yan, yung heater, yes, kahit may heater dito sa likod ko, pero malamig pa rin. And yes, if you notice mga pamangkikers, our background is different from the usual Eat, Sleep, Breathe Football. So ito yung initiative namin, which is called Reach Out with Alec. Hindi siya tao, but it's more on different steps.
Yeah.
So if you can see, ang A means ask, L means listen, E means encourage action, and C is to check in. So later on, we will explain to you anong yung meaning, those real meanings about it. So it's ask, listen, encouraging action, and check in.
Mhm.
So that's why nag-change kami ng background, because we want to give awareness for those who are,
Mhm.
maybe not doing well during this pandemic, and maybe other reasons aside from the pandemic. So yes.
Thank you so much for that, Dave. I mean, yeah, we're all in this together, like what we have been doing since the start of the pandemic, since April last year. We've been together, listening and talking to your favorite football personalities. And if you think that we're just doing that just for fun, yes, we're doing that just for fun, because we want to make sure that we keep our sanities during these trying times. And it's not only us who's having these issues or having this mental health issues. It's also the players. That's why we brought in Dr. Adele to discuss this further. But going into that, Doc, we just want to know first how did you able to get into the scene, and how does it work for you, and how do you work with our national athletes in terms of their mental health?
Yeah. Probably at this point, I could actually talk more on how we deliver
Mhm.
our services to our national athletes in spite of this ongoing pandemic and community quarantine or lockdown. Quarantine more appropriately. So at this point, we are out of not seeing our athletes face to face, although our Olympic aspirants at this point are already undergoing their bubble training. On the part of the sports psychology unit of Philippine Sports Commission, we have this regular monthly webinar, okay, for our athletes. Specifically, okay, our aim is to prepare them, okay, for upcoming competition. More specifically, okay, for the Olympics. So far, we have delivered topics as simple as kamustahan, how are they doing, okay, amidst of this pandemic period, and we also have delivered topics such as goal setting, keeping motivated, okay, which are very important topic nowadays because as you know it, because of training and as well as competition, for most of staff at this point, we really need to assist our athletes to be in a matter of or concern of sustaining and keeping that motivation. So that's how at this point is our approach in terms of still delivering our services to our athletes and our aim aside from again keeping them motivated in terms of their sports, being passionate still about it, is still a part of that is checking out okay, that our athletes are actually is still mentally healthy during this period.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Doc. I mean, that's very important considering that, we cannot be together physically right now. I mean, you cannot check
Mhm.
in on the person that you want to talk to personally because, I mean, yeah. While we do have these platforms like we have Zoom, we have different meeting platforms for us to be able to talk to the person that we want to talk to. Iba pa rin yung iba pa rin yung personal approach that
Face to
yeah,
face.
the face to face. But since we cannot do that right now, at least the PSC Sports Psychology unit has been doing a lot of great things for our national athletes, especially for those already in training for those who are going to be competing in the Tokyo Olympics. That's very important because that's one of the major aspects as well that we're looking at in terms of how well they're going to perform um, in the said competition. Now, we want to talk further about this topic that we have again, the mental health of our players. Um, how do you think can the player's mental health status affect a player's performance on the pitch?
You're pertaining actually, Sir Jamer, in terms of actual performance during
Yes, the
competition.
actual performance they have on the competition.
Yeah. Before answering that, Sir Jamer, I would like
Mm-hmm.
to add something. I actually forgot to tell this one a while ago. In terms of your first question, that aside from webinar group session that we conduct for our national athletes, we also conduct one-to-one online session.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, particularly for those athletes who find it more stressful coping up with the current pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So meaning to say we're catering for both teams and as well as the individual needs of our national athletes in terms of their mental health and as well as sporting performance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now going back to answer your question a while ago. So in terms of mental health connected with with the athlete's performance, I guess okay the more appropriate term at this point will be how mentally tough an athlete is in terms of dealing or doing the actual performance to be able for him for her to still perform as at her peak or his peak, and the mental toughness is actually needed.
Mm-hmm.
So as you know, especially for our players who are listening to tonight, whether national or member of other teams, well, during actual competition, there are a lot of things or formally termed as factors that actually might hamper or even deteriorate the performances of our athletes.
Mm-hmm.
It could be external and it could be internal. Okay, externally it could be distraction from the crowd. It depends upon on what type of sports. Okay, so but in terms of the greater impact in terms of the athletic performances, well, it is observed or believed that intrinsic factors, especially the negative ones, could have a worse or if not greater impact on one's athletic performances.
Mhm.
Some of those intrinsic factors could be cognitive, okay,
Mhm.
mental, such as worrying about the lack of focus, lack of concentration. And obviously, if you don't, if you're not yet experiencing this one, without that focus, without that concentration, they could not really perform or attain their performance goals during an actual competition.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's mental. Okay,
Mhm.
emotionally, so that will be nervousness.
Mhm.
Okay, agitation. Okay, wherein, okay, it could still hamper one's performance. For example, if you're too agitated, you tend to breathe more faster, your heartbeat is faster than usual, then there's a possibility of waste of physical energy, waste
Mhm.
of precious physical energy during competition. Okay? So
Mhm.
we already have cognitive, mental, and emotional. When it comes to physical, yeah, okay, some athletes will tend to exhibit that shakiness of their extremities or limbs, which are again will interfere specifically to the smoothness of the movement or action of our athletes.
Mhm.
Now, to be able to, in a way, prevent and even screen out these unlikely factors, whether physical, emotional, or mental toughness is needed.
Mhm.
Okay? For example, Sir Jamer, kung masakit na yung katawan mo, you feel this pain, you feel
Mhm.
exhausted, okay? You need that mental toughness, particularly the use of self-talk na, di bali na ito, mamaya na ito, I won't entertain this one at this point.
Mhm.
What I need to do is to focus and deliver my effort, okay, for performing at this point. And true enough, okay, a number of our athletes whom we've worked with, okay, would exhibit this mental toughness. That again, in spite of this physical exhaustion, distraction, nervousness, being mentally tough, they are capable of again, okay, setting aside those unlikely factors
Mhm.
and focus only on the factors that are favorable to their performance.
Mhm.
Okay, so what are those again? Focus, positive self-talk, concentration, confidence, etc.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's how, in a way, the importance of the mental aspect in general to the performances and as well as the career and life of our athletes.
Mhm.
Because this mental toughness, yes, yes, it can be used in actual competition or game. Pero magagamit din yan outside a sporting event,
Mhm.
outside in to real life, especially now na magagamit pa rin yung mental toughness na yan in the face of these challenges brought about by this pandemic.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Doc. Siguro I just like to follow up on that na lang. Yes, I mean there are these factors really come into play especially if it's a very important match and you have to be mentally tough. Yun nga yung sinasabi
Mm.
natin. However, do you think or I mean kasi for me are there any ways that we can cope up with this stuff that say for example we no longer have any control of, say right now for example you want to maintain your focus, right? You've already eliminated all of the factors that you know that you can control of, but what can you do in terms of the stuff that you know for yourself that you don't have any control of, and you know for sure that it's gonna affect your
Uh,
performance on the game?
yeah. Okay. Again, Sir Jamer, let me do it the same way a while ago. Before answering your question, I would like to just comment on what you said a while ago regarding uh, the important competition. Okay, actually, allow me to add this one that in terms of mental toughness, sometimes they call it mental tenacity. Some sports psychologists will term it mental flexibility. It's
Mhm.
very, very much needed, especially during the most important competition.
Yep.
Okay. There are those athletes who choke in the middle of important competition, a sudden drop in their performance when you say choking. And still, okay, some athletes would tend to choke in face of a perceived tougher opponent. Ang lakas, ang laki nitong opponent ko, okay,
Mhm.
baka matalo ko, baka hindi ko siya kayanin. But again, okay, for those athletes who were able to survive and even thrive amidst of that intimidating competition, intimidating opponent, kasi mentally tough sila. Kumbaga, sa isip, hindi bumibigay.
Mhm.
Kasi sa mga atleta natin, especially in tough competition, once naisip yung bumigay, okay, lahat pababa na yan. Particularly in terms of performance. Ayan. Now, hopefully that would make sense, Sir Jamer.
Yes.
Now, going back to your question, so as you mentioned, athletes could actually focus more on what they control, okay, and what can they do in terms of those things that they cannot control. Okay, actually, the answer already lies in those phrases or sentence, on the two sentence. Okay, now allow me to share this one. Okay, for most Filipino athletes, when they go abroad compete, what happens? Usually what happens is they get surprised or probably even overwhelmed na ang lalaki ng mga foreigner na mga kalaban namin. Okay? Now, when intimidation sets in, okay, that is when apektado. Okay, bumababa yung confidence nila, okay, bumababa yung belief sa sarili nila, na paano kung matatalo itong malaking player na ito.
Yep.
Did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay. But then again, okay, that is when that praise would come in. So that would mean rather than focusing on what you cannot control, yung laki ng kalaban mo, okay, yung nanggaling ng kalaban mo, mag-focus ka doon sa mako-control mo. And that's your actual performance. Okay? So, ano yung mga ginagawa specifically ng mga atleta natin? Okay? Actually, prior to those intimidating opponent or competition, nag-train ng mga yan. Okay? Paano ko lalabanan? Paano ko sasabayan itong malaking atleta na ito? Itong atleta na mas malaki, mas gusto ko sa akin. Did you get that?
Yes po.
So consequently, some of our athletes prior to the competition, i-review nila mentally kung ano yung game plan nila para tapatan yung malaking player na yan. Okay? And in that pattern, okay, by focusing on one's competition, one's performance, kung yung makakaya mo, kung anong pwede mong gawin. Okay? Instead of worrying, okay, about yung tougher opponent, okay, mas nagpo-focus, mas redirect ng mga atleta natin yung actual performance nila, which could actually lead, okay, to their better or desired performance. Okay, again, Sir Jamer, allow me to reiterate that one. You focus more on what you can do, okay, rather than what you cannot control in the game.
Yeah.
Okay, the same is true with our pandemic, actually at this point. Okay, for our athletes although it's easy for me to say it at this point na, okay, although it's easy for me to say this one at this point na, okay, focus more on what you could do, maintaining your physical fitness, doing something productive, develop pa new hobby. Okay, and in that manner, yung effort tsaka focus mo, okay, you use it, okay, to proper outlet. Okay, rather than focusing on the sad reality na again at this point our competition and training are put on hold. Okay.
Right.
In other words, it's a matter of the right attitude, the right mindset, and still that right mindset falls under good mental toughness.
Thank you so much, Doc. Yeah, I mean that's a very insightful answer that we have here. Dave, how are you?
Well, I'm okay. Thank you for asking again. Pero that's very insightful. Kasi especially the intimidation part. Kasi wala tayong magagawa eh. Ganyan ang katawan mo, ganyan ang pagka-built mo. Wala tayong magawa kung if they grew up like that and they trained like that, then that's their own battle. And parang at first I also experienced that. Don't get me wrong. I used to play for the mga U16 Italian national team sa basketball, and then I got intimidated, from different countries and from different nations, and when you explained it to that na parang yeah, it makes sense because we have to only focus on what we can do. We can't really control our opponents. They're like that, mga ganyan. So yeah, it's very insightful. Sige, Doc, ito yung more or less I don't know, I think you mentioned this or something, but I'll still ask it na lang. Are there certain attitudes or changes in the behavior that baka yung mga coaches need to look out para for their player to detect baka they might be showing signs of, you know, depression or anxiety apart from performances. Kasi performances is parang it's a already parang a clear thing na okay, baka he's not on the right mindset muna like that. But are there other factors aside from performances that you might say, okay, maybe this maybe he's not in the right mindset, baka ganyan siya ngayon, baka he's facing something. What are the other factors there, Doc?
Yeah. Okay, so that's a good statement there, Sir Dave. Okay, that one way on how you could detect if somehow, okay, a particular athlete is actually starting to exhibit a form of mental disturbance in form of anxiety or depression, for instance. Okay, by the way, I would like to mention at this point that actually two of the most common mental conditions or psychological disturbance that are experienced by people in general, by Filipinos and including athletes, are depression and anxiety. Okay, particular depression because of again, okay, the byproduct, the psychological byproduct of this ongoing pandemic. Okay, in fact, again, allow me to share this one at this point muna before going to the question, answering the question. There is a term at this point in okay, so and the second pandemic is actually a psychological one, which is already occurring or transpiring at this point, and that's an obvious increase in the number of individuals exhibiting mental health problems. Okay, and for athletes in particular, as mentioned by Sir Dave, it could manifest in their performance. Okay, kasi pagka, for example, kung anxious ka, as mentioned a while ago, okay, you cannot control it, you cannot worry, the tendency is for it to unfavorably affect your performance. Okay, the same in terms of depression. Pag depression po, depressed po kasi yung atleta, one possible manifestation is the decrease in interest in terms of participation in sports, both in training and competition. In anticipation of training or competition, okay, dati bibo, nakakalibilo sa mga teammates niya, bakit ngayon biglang nagbago? Okay, did you get that? So meaning to say, one first step for our coaches, probably for and the rest of the team, is to be observant of the changes in the behavior of our athletes. Well, ongoing pandemic, but in terms of attitude po kasi, those mental processes that could not be observed. But what could be relied on to observation, yung mga, again, changes in the behavior of our athletes. Okay, as I mentioned a while ago, it could be decreased interest, participation in actual training and competition. Now, aside from that, in terms of depression is in a way tricky and complex. That when a particular person, just like including an athlete, would tend to manifest or exhibit this one, it could be opposite poles. And what do I mean by that opposite pole? Okay, posible po in terms of sleep, in depressed na tao or atleta, in terms of sleep, nahihirapan matulog. Or oversleeping naman. Did you get that? Okay, the same is actually in terms of anxiousness. Okay, some persons or individuals in the middle of the night, okay, because of exhibiting this anxiousness or nervousness, nahihirapan niya matulog. Okay? And what else? Actually, I would like to mention this one. Hopefully, it's a form of educating our listener or viewer at this point. That usually anxiousness, okay, start during dusk. Okay, hanggang gumabi. It's actually what anthropological and even evolutionary on our part of how come during at the set of dusk at paggabi po, mas nagiging anxious yung mga tao because usually dark and night is being associated with danger. Okay, parang inculcated na po sa sistema ng bawat tao yan, or at least most individuals. Okay? Now, going back to depression, be it somewhat complex and tricky, as I mentioned a while ago, posibleng apektado yung sleep in a manner na nahihirapan matulog or sobra-sobra namang matulog. In the same fashion, pagdating naman po sa appetite, yung mga taong depressed, it's either walang gana or sobra-sobra namang kumain as a form of coping na.
Mm.
Okay? Still, for example, in terms of interaction, okay, with interaction with other people, the social aspect, if you're going to formally term it, may mga depressed na tao or atleta na on one side or one at one end or at one pole. Kasi pakiramdam nila, okay, walang nakakaintindi sa nararanasan nila. But on the other, there are those athletes naman, or even or individuals in general, na when they are depressed, the more they tend to try to be in the company of others. Why do they seek the company of others? Because while in the company of others, there's a possibility that they don't think of their problem, which okay. So in other words, if I'm going to simplify that, okay, so to be able to, in a way, first detect if a particular person or athlete is starting to exhibit disturbance or disorder behavior. Especially if the behavior is sudden, biglaan. And aside from the changes being sudden, yung behavior constant din. The changes in behavior. Isang individual or atleta na yung changes sa mood niya, it's already been weeks, then that is when it's already a red flag. Just it's time for me to talk to this person and find out ano ba nangyayari sa kanya.
We do apologize for the technical difficulties. I think Doc Rodel has some issues with the connection.
Hindi
One
lang.
of the things we can't control that.
Mga
Hello,
uncontrolled.
Doc. Are you still with us?
I think he is.
Yeah.
Yan yung mga
Sorry, Doc,
uncontrollable concerns natin.
you were saying something uncontrollable, and yet the connection, wala tayong magagawa dyan. We do apologize kung naputol ka, sir.
Pero yeah, we get the
sige.
gist actually. We get the gist.
Pero we get the gist naman, Doc. Sige, follow up before I go back to my colleague, Jamer, Doc. I mean, aside from those factors that you mentioned, 'di ba? Pero the thing is, how do you say, ang problem kasi, Doc, is the fact that there are times that they're athletes kasi you might think they're doing the best performances, they're breaking records, they're training constantly like that, but in the end you don't know pala na inside that mind they're suffering. And like it, baka siguro, Doc, na parang there's some athletes na they're really good in hiding it despite the good performances and all. But in the end, they're actually suffering, and it has happened to certain athletes, maybe not in the Philippines but also abroad. Na sadly, their life ended because not just not due to physical contact, but maybe it due to the external factors and like that. How can we try to solve the unconscious one, yung parang hindi halata, yung the one that's not really that clear, pero in the end, do you usually do physical checkups? Do you try to see if they're really doing well or not? Like, how does that function, sir?
So that's very much true, okay, Sir David. Okay, that there are athletes, okay, who really have confessed previously that in spite of the pain, in spite of the glory, in spite of the success in their own respective sport, they actually suffered from mental, okay, but disturbances. Okay, again, such as depression. Okay, and somehow, allow me to elaborate on that aspect. Yeah, in a way, being in the world of fame, being popular and successful hides, okay, that possibility of suffering from mental disorders such as depression. Yeah. Okay. Now, it's quite challenging actually, both on the part of regular layman, the part of the team, and even psychologists, okay, to actually detect that. especially if such issues are actually in a way overshadowed by the quote unquote the brightness of success, for instance. Should I say that way? Now, one probable suggestion that I could have or that I could give you at this point, that as you mentioned, that there's a regular medical checkup. Among medical and physical checkup, among athletes, to be able to find out regularly if they are physically fit. Now, meaning to say, that would lead us to the suggestion that psychological, mental checkup for our athletes is also important, equally important actually. Okay. Now, although I do acknowledge that sports institutions such as Philippine Sports Commission do actually conduct regular psychological assessment to our athletes, to be able for us to find out if they are mentally fit enough to do competition or to go into competition. Now probably we could add more. We could add more assessment. When we say assessment, it could be interview. It could mean testing. Yeah, it could be asking other persons who really know the athletes of how he or she is really doing. Beyond the scope of our eyes. Did you get that?
Yes.
So meaning to say we need to conduct further assessment. And even in that assessment, again, to really decipher. Nasabihin natin itong atleta ba ito talagang psychological, mentally okay siya, or baka may tinatago. Okay? And the thing is that in terms of that term na tinatago, probably there's a tendency for our athletes na pagka may dinadamdam psychological, mentally, itatago yan. Okay? Kasi baka pag nalaman ni coach na depressed ako, baka hindi ako papaglaruin. Okay? Pag nalaman ng mga fans ko, for example, ng mga followers ko na nalulungkot ako, depressed ako, anxious ako, baka, I might give them a wrong or bad impression of me. Okay, so meaning to say, this issue of mental health for our athletes, in a way, it's not only limited, not solely for the athletic community, but it's actually already a global issue. Okay, because in terms of mental health, still there's this corresponding stigma or stereotyping. When you are exhibiting mental health or mental disorder, you might be weak as a person. Okay, there's something wrong with you as a person. And again, that's a probable reason. Not only us, but some people, they tend to hide about their mental issues. So, in other words, probably this is in a way, address to all of us. That we start to broaden, our minds. That in as much, that people will tend to experience physical sicknesses or illness. Ganun din po. Na may posibilidad, na yung mga tao maging atleta, makaranas din to ng mga mental illnesses. And if any individuals, and including athletes, would tend to perceive and feel, na natatanggap, na normal lang naman na mag-seek ng psychological help, professional, sa mga counselor, for instance, then, they'll be encouraged more, to actually seek, help when they starting to feel na, mukhang dahil dun sa mga naranasan ng iba, kailangan ng tulong ng mga professional in the areas or field of mental health. Now, aside from that, I actually talk about in terms of a broad view of how we could actually do something about this social stigma against individuals who's experiencing mental health. On the level of the team naman. I actually shared this one with the previous webinar, particularly on the part of coaches and teammates. Now, for me, the relationship between coaches, teammates, and players is not. It's actually more than professional. It's actually interpersonal and personal as it is. When we say a personal relationship, particularly at this point, in terms between coaches and athletes, on the part of coaches, ideally it is suggested that for coaches to have to do this extra effort to connect to those individuals or individuals are those individuals family members, even special someone.
Mm.
Okay, bakit kailangan kumonekta yung team, yung coach sa mga significant persons nito? Kasi yung mga significant person nito, ito yung mga nakaka-obserba, nakakasalamuha ng atleta outside training, outside competition. So kung nagkakaroon po ng problema, okay, outside as mentioned a while ago by Sir David, sometimes these external problems, okay, is causing, okay, the difficulty of the athlete. Actually, more often than not. Okay. So again, going back to what I've said, if you have this constant communication and relationship to these significant persons in the life of our athletes, then, okay, you could actually ask them, okay, regularly, kumusta naman si ganyan, si ganito, okay, sa bahay. Pag nasa labas kayo, okay, pag nagbabanding kayo, okay ba siya? Okay, may problema ba siya? Okay, meron pa sineshare sa'yo. Okay. And in that manner, I could actually say that meron yung coaches, yung team, may mata outside, okay, again, competition and training. At kung nagkataon po na yung mga friends or significant others in general, may na-observe, okay, na pagbabago in terms of the psychological health of this athlete. At in a way, komportable naman yung coach at saka yung significant others, okay, sa isa't isa, then I guess on the part of those friends, significant others, etc., they're more than willing, okay, to report or to share to that coaches na, coach, napapansin ko po si ganito, okay, mukha po yatang nawawalang interest sa pag-training. Okay, did you get that? Okay.
Yes.
Well, what I'm saying at this point is that in terms of looking after our athletes, in terms of in terms of their health in general, okay, and at this point talking about their mental health, it is not the sole responsibility of the team or the coach. Collectively, again, okay, those persons involved in the life and the career of the athletes, friends, parents, special someone, ideally it may seem, but what's suggested is to work hand in hand. Okay. Na lahat ng angulo matitignan. Okay. At kung lahat ng angulo matitignan, okay, life outside in school, in home, and social life, I guess mas natutulungan po natin yung atleta.
Yes, exactly. Thank
I
you.
mean, that's a very insightful na ano. Hindi mo hindi mo mapansin naman din, sir, na parang you thought it has to be either the parent, either the special one, or either the friends. But I didn't expect na parang kailangan mo talaga mag hand in hand talaga, like parang a sort of unit to be able to help that person. Kasi usually, it's not that easy, obviously, to open up. You know, because maybe we might think we're a burden to some of the people and ganyan. Pero mga pamagkikers, you're not a burden. If you need help, just ask help. Ask help lang. And just remember,
just
very insightful answer. Very insightful answer. Actually, na mind blown ako. Actually, na mind blown ako. It's like, oh wow, I did not thought of that. Pero thank you again for the answer. Sige, I'll bring it back to Jamer.
Yep. And before siguro ako before I go to my question, yung sinasabi ni Dave na, yes, just keep on asking questions with your family members or parang help yourself or check yourself with the help of your family, kasi if you think that you're being a burden to them, you're not, kasi if you're not if you're not really saying what's happening with you, if you're not being open to what's happening, burden to them already, because the problem there is you're not being open, or you're not really discussing what's happening with you, and hindi ka nila matutulungan agad-agad in terms of that situation. However, siguro I'm just gonna bring it back to an athlete's perspective. We were able to talk about what the people outside can do, what doctors like you, doc, or what the other people can actually do to help out certain individuals in terms of taking care of them or helping them build up their mental toughness. Siguro on a player's perspective naman, Doc, who in the team do you think or who in the team do you advise the player to reach out to first if he or she wants to share their struggles outside of their professional career, say for example right now in football, if meron man silang dinadala outside of the pitch, sino siguro amongst the team yung pwede nilang lapitan? Will it be the coach, their teammate, or any other staff in the team?
Actually, Sir Jamer, the answer to that is, sino lalapitan ng atleta? Okay, as simple as kung kanino siya pinaka-close. Okay, and that's actually what's happening, what's inspiring every time, or if there are cases of atleta na yun nga, if she feels like or he feels like being depressed, being anxious, or some other mental disturbance. Well, it's a reality actually in the world of psychology na we, the mental health practitioner, kami yung uling pinupuntaan, kinoconsult ng mga atleta. Okay. Although some athletes would tend to entertain, what if I consult doc regarding what I'm feeling? Okay. Pero, again, before going to us, even before going to the coach to seek for advice or to seek for help, pupunta muna yan dun sa pinaka-close niya sa team. And a particular athlete would ask advice, anong gagawin ko? Should I talk to coach? Okay, should I go to consult Dr. Trinidad, Dr. Kayubit, Dr. Sally Magpantay? Oh, by the way, is it okay to greet my colleagues at the sports psychology unit?
Yes, Doc. I think Doc
I
Karen.
think one of them commented din eh.
Yeah, Doc
Si
Karen.
Doc Karen Trinidad.
Commented.
Doc Karen
Sabi sa'yo ng hi.
So going back to, thank you for that. I Doc, I boss. Okay, going back to the notion a while ago. So why athletes would approach first yung pinaka-close nila sa team? Because for me, the way I work with them, yung mga atleta alam naman, they already have a prior idea on how to deal with their issues, with their problems. Okay, but they need verification, they need confirmation. And usually that verification or confirmation na kailangan ko ng professional help, manggagaling again din sa friend at saka sa pinaka-closest. Okay, sa team. And as I said a while ago, especially in the Filipino sport, Filipino psyche, as mentioned by Say Dave, well, more specifically in terms of sport, kung hindi man kasing halaga yung interpersonal relationship nung professional relationship, mas mahalaga. Okay, yung relational within the team. Okay, now, so on the part of our coaches, usually after convincing a particular athlete to seek for example, psychological help, dadaan muna sa coach. And I would like to say at this point with confidence that coaches at this point most of them are open, okay, to allow their athletes to be subjected or to undergo psychological attention or services. Okay, so I'm actually, Sir Jamer, I did not actually answer directly your question, but rather I'm just sharing kung ano po talaga nangyayari, kung ano yung sequence or step, okay, na every time magkakaroon po ng psychological issues sa atleta. Okay, sino muna yung mga unang taong linalapitan nila? None other, again, yung pinaka-close, okay, sa pinaka-close sa team. And that's why, probably I could add at this point that in terms of our national teams, it is important, okay, to develop that so-called task cohesion, meaning to say the way they perform, to be able for them to reach their target as an athlete, as a team. But again, okay, on the side, equally important po na ma-develop yung relationship sa isa't isa. Quality relationships like a family, okay, family, brothers and sisters, which in a way ideal for the Filipino culture.
Mm-hmm.
It is known as social cohesion, technically speaking.
Thanks, Doc. Siguro follow up ko na lang before I head into my colleague out here. Yun nga. That's a great thing that the first person that they should approach if they're going through something is yung pinaka close nila kasi based on what you've said, dun sila mas nakakapag-open up, I think. Kaya mas okay na doon.
Uh,
Pero siguro, Doc, in your perspective, or if you can also put yourself in the athlete's shoes, um what do you think are the hindrances for them to seek professional help? Kasi, I mean, it's not easy already to approach your friend or your colleague or even the person that you're closest to open up about what you're experiencing. And then we have this certain, thinking na if they cannot open up to the person that they're very close with, will that be a hindrance for them to seek professional help? Or do you think that's the time that they can go ahead and seek for professional help?
okay. Yeah. Sir Jamer, again, pardon me if I'm going back in terms of answering your previous question. Probably this is also useful to your follow-up question.
Mm.
Now, on the part of coaches and probably those involved with the team, in terms of communicating, okay, that to their athletes, that's okay for you to talk or to ask question about if I could receive psychological services or mental health attention. Two things. I guess again on the part of this person, coaches, as I said a while ago, they should be non-judgmental. Okay. Pag once kasi a particular athlete, okay, will tend to feel okay na that they're being judged, again, being weak. Okay, baka hindi mo kasi inalagaan ng tama ang sarili mo. There's a tendency to be disheartened. Again, in terms of seeking for psychological services or attention. And second one, again, this is a psychological concept. Okay, there's a term in psychology, unconditional positive regard. Okay, na yung atleta mo, kahit at times na nananalo siya, tanggap mo siya. And even at times, okay, that sometimes he or she might fail, tanggap mo pa rin siya. Okay? And again, if our athletes could actually feel this so-called unconditional positive regard, okay, they will be always be comfortable and open, okay, to the team, to the coach in particular, in terms of speaking out their mind, in terms of expressing or sharing what they feel or what they experience, such as the possibility of experiencing mental health issues. Okay, now going back to your question, your follow-up question. What if yun nga wala bago pa lang sa team? Okay, wala pang ka-close, pero he or she started to manifest again may psychological disturbance. So what could be that hindrance? Okay, again, okay, intrinsic and extrinsic factors. Okay, in terms of intrinsic factors, nandiyan po yung preconceived ideas. Okay, ng mga atleta na what if I seek psychological service or attention? Again, okay, baka ma-judge ako. Okay, what if I'm going to be labeled? Okay, but what if I'm going to be stigmatized out of this one? Okay, so those are the intrinsic factors. Okay, second one, okay, that will be, as I already said a while ago, those extrinsic factors naman, that there's a possibility nga na matag ka, ma-label ka, once you have, okay, once others have known, okay, that you are actually seeking for psychological help or attention. Okay, this one, actress per gamer, we have this psychoeducation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, na minumulat, in-educate po natin yung public on the importance of seeking psychological help or attention. And the same is true, okay, to our national teams, to our national athletes. And of course, other athletes who are part of league, for example, a part of the varsity team. Again, okay, in a way, okay, on the part of mental health professionals, and even with the help of you in the field of sports, just like this one, we could actually conduct information dissemination on your part, and on our part, psychological education.
Mm-hmm.
Again, okay, promoting the need, okay, for our athletes okay, to seek psychological help and the general public if it is necessary. Okay? Ganito po kasi yan, Sir Jamer, kung yung mga tao at yung mga atleta natin makikita sa social media, makikita sa ibang players, okay, lalong-lalo yung mga players na tinitingala nila na sila mismo nag-consult ng psychological help. When they're going to tell themselves na kung si ganito, okay, nagpatingin pala sa psychologist, bakit ako? Okay. Siguro okay lang naman. Okay na pati ako, okay, mag-seek ng help ng psychologist. Okay, it's more of actually at this point correcting or renewing the attitude of the general public and the individuals towards these issues, and more specifically, particularly the importance of psychological or mental health.
Thank you. Grabe, ang insightful talaga. That's what I've been waiting to hear from Doc actually, na for us, for us normal persons na we're going through a lot of mental health issues as well. Kung yung idols natin or kung the ones who are already playing professionally are seeking professional help or asking for help because of their mental status, bakit tayo hindi natin magawa? So yun. I mean that's really something that I've been waiting to hear from you, Doc, and thank you so much for answering that. Now, I want to go back to my colleague Dave. Go ahead.
Sorry, okay. I needed to unmute. Sorry. Okay, sige, Doc, this episode has been very mind-blowing. I mean, literally and and metaphorically naman din. Kasi it's syempre with the mind and all. Pero, sige. Kasi, Doc, paminsan kasi yung Filipino approach or traditional Filipino approach towards mental health is still parang viewed as something, sometimes the terms could be maarte, sometimes the terms could be overreacting, sometimes
toxic
toxic. It's very toxic. So this is where my question goes with regards to also the Filipino context of thinking about mental health. So are there any tips or advice to our pamangkikers or to our audience on what to comment or not to comment on certain sensitive topics in football that involves a player's mental health? Bakit? Because I won't name this coach, but there is a coach that really got a lot of heat due to the fact that being a coach, you should understand the player in premise, like the first one to understand the player, that he or she is going through something, and you're not supposed to criticize that player because, like what you said a while ago, Doc, diba? Kahit manalo siya, support pa rin. And kahit he's on her down moment sa sports, still support pa rin. Kasi at the end of the day, that's still your athlete. What can you say about that, sir? Na parang, paano ko kailangan na parang, how can I comment? What not to comment? And how can I avoid something, with regards, obviously, to that kind of toxic Filipino mentality with regards to mental health po?
That's very much true. Okay, Sir Dave. Okay, now on my part, it's actually easy on my part to say that think before you post. Okay, another thing is that if speak only, write only, post only, if what you're going to post is actually better than your silence. Okay, so meaning to say, sir, if you have nothing good to say, okay, it's just better to stay quiet na lang. Not to post, okay, not to comment. Okay, that's the, in a way, okay, it's an unwritten rule or ethical practice, I guess, in terms of posting, commenting in social media. Now, hopefully this one, it would help. Hopefully this one would help. I just realized this one suddenly. In psychology po kasi, there's something as projection. When you say projection, kung ano yung gusto mo mangyari, kung ano yung tingin mo dapat gawin, okay, yun ang nakikita mo, pinapasa mo na dapat gawin ng tao. Now at this point, okay, that, anyway, allow me to say this one, okay, that football player who recently retired. as we discussed a while ago. Now, because probably on the part of this person, of these individuals who's delivering this or doing this, in a way, unlikely commenting. Again, they use their personal standard kasi na kailangan ganito ka-attack ka, na kailangan you should have stayed on the team. Okay? Na kailangan you have shown that your loyalty, for example, in the team. But again, okay, these are our personal standards na not necessarily the standard of the other person. Did you get that? And that is projection. That is projection. Kung ano yung sa tingin mo tama, kung ano yung value mo, okay, sa tingin mo, dapat ganun din yung value ng kabilang tao. Okay, and for me, okay, although this is somewhat, in a way, a psychological concept, for those, again, individuals who tend to comment readily, think twice. Think twice. Ask yourself, do I know enough? Okay. Do I know about this background of this person? That okay, in my single comment or in my single posting, okay, parang na-judge ko na itong taong na ito. Okay. And it boils down, ganito lang po kasimple. Kung ikaw ba yung nasa sitwasyon ng atleta, makakatulong ba sa'yo? Okay, yung mga comment na yan. Okay, what in psychology we call this empathy. Okay, empathy. And if the general public, for example, would tend to, in a way, try to consider this. Okay, am I judging? Am I projecting? Okay, then, okay, probably they're going to think twice. Okay, before delivering that judgmental comment, if you're going to term it that way. And forgive me for the lack of better term na po, if I coined it judgmental comment. Okay.
Because the thing is kasi, Doc, is there, this is a follow-up, how can we, kasi, let's be honest, Doc, there are a lot of apathetic people. The apathy is all around, we cannot deny that. How is there a possibility, or how can we show, or how can we teach empathy towards certain individuals na to the point na wala nang silang personal standards or according to yung projection towards that person? Paano po, how can you, like, what are the steps na parang pwede natin itulungan, or how can we teach them not to be judgmental at the same time try to gain more empathy towards that person that he or she might be suffering? Are there any ways po?
Yeah. One practical way and probably one immediate way, Sir David, in terms of making people realize that rather than being judgmental, be empathetic towards this person. Again, okay, probably we could, hopefully, okay, there could be a role model in sports, particularly in football, who could actually do it. Okay, somebody, again, okay, a role model, a figure, or probably even icon in the world of sport, who could actually exhibit or perform that rather than judgmental, being empathetic. Okay, because these role models, again, okay, the general public, they tend to look up onto them. And usually, okay, kung ano yung attitude at saka ginagawa nung role model na yan, in sport, again, specifically in football, ginagaya, inimimitate. Okay, ng general public na tumitingala or naniniwala dun sa tao na yun. Okay, that's one immediate way. But in terms of, as you asked, Sir Dave, in terms of eliciting or developing this so-called quote-unquote empathy to individuals, to public in general, allow me to say this one, it starts at home. Did you get that? Kung nakikita po nung for example, ang bilis mag-comment, ang bilis mag-trash talk, for instance, ginagaya po yan. Known as learning, you could learn both favorable and unfavorable behavior. You could, let me repeat that, favorable and unfavorable behavior. Favorable behavior, empathy. Unfavorable behavior, being judgmental, on the way you post, being judgmental in social media. Okay? Plus, from home, okay, ayan, developing that value such as empathy. As you know, it could be developed through the church, and of course, it could also develop through school education. Values education, for example, in school.
Mhm.
And again, okay, it really, okay, both start at home. Okay, once po kasi yung mga bagay na yung values na yan, na-reach sa mga youth, sa mga kabataan natin, okay, and reinforce and outside institutions such as school and church, okay, mas na-stick po sa mga tao, okay, yung values na yan. And when those values such as empathy, okay, would stick would stick deeply inside the person, kahit yung mga tao sa social media, karamihan, okay, nagtatrafficative na yung comment. Yung tao na yun na may value ng empathy, na malalim sa kanya, hindi gagawin niya. That's my view regarding that issue.
Yeah. I agree with you, Doc. It all boils down to to the empathy that we show to these athletes that are going through rough times, which may actually lead to them retiring early or taking a break from the sport. Siguro sa mga viewers natin, listeners natin, sa mga pamangkikers natin na nanonood dyan, reason why we're talking about this, or we have this certain topic right now at hand about the comments that we have put in, or the people are putting in on on social media. I'm pretty sure that you are aware about what happened with Edison Suerte or Elias Mordal at the very tender age of 22. Honestly speaking, that's the age wherein you build up the foundation of being a professional player. Yun yung pinaka panahon na napakadaming offers, napakadaming opportunities na lumalabas para sa iyo, despite the fact that yes, we have an ongoing pandemic, but there are a lot of opportunities if they were able to see you play in previous competitions, especially if you've faced certain level of competition like China, perhaps. You played very well in the Southeast Asian Games. You performed really well. But then, all of a sudden, here we are. We were, I mean, not only me, but everyone in the Philippine football community was shocked about Suerte's retirement. I mean, at the early age of 22. Siguro, I want to ask Doc about this, but before I do that, I just want to go back on what Doc said, because it's not really helping the case of Suerte. Siguro he's just in the middle of a crisis in his life that he was forced to making sudden decisions, sudden impacting decisions for himself na he might regret in the future, or he might, retract kasi he feels like no one's supporting him. But after this, or after hearing positive comments from the fans, or hearing positive comments from the fans supporting him of his decision, it may or may not change his decision into going back into the game again. And believe me when I say this, na I'm so not disappointed, but I was so disheartened about what happened, because he has a lot of potential, honestly. If you were able to watch him in this few matches with the national team, especially during the SEA Games, he showed a lot of promise. It's just that it didn't come into fruition after the said tournament. So, siguro, Doc, what I would just like to ask about that, and this is gonna be my final question about this topic. What do you think can us, the fans and the people around him, siguro we might not know him personally, but what can we do to help him out in this kind of crisis that he's going through, and siguro encourage him to find his way back into the sport? Kasi we know for sure that he's still passionate about what he's doing. Meron lang sigurong bagay na nagkukulang, wherein do you think what we can do to fill that void in, Doc?
It's actually, Sir Jamer, yeah, it's difficult to comment on that, because again, it's I barely know the person.
Mm-hmm.
I barely know the person. But usually, as you already mentioned a while ago, I guess okay the fans probably because of Edison Suerte are already doing their part. Okay, by Jamer. But I would like to probably share at this point. Again, this is something psychological. Not only for not only for Edison, not only for followers, but in general, that everybody has his own personal journey.
Mm.
Okay. And I guess okay, that's the what's happening right now to Edison is his personal journey. Okay. Sometimes, okay, like it or not, okay, because it's something personal. Okay, some individuals, just like Edison, could do something which may not be liked or disliked, either liked or disliked by by other persons. And just like to what's happening right now, okay, a lot of individuals decide to what he made or what he decide. But it boils down to, again, psychologically, okay, it's the journey of the person, and we need to respect that. We need to respect that. Okay, because on our part, we could only see the facade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what we could not see, it's what happened. It's the background of the person. Okay, what's happening inside the person. Okay, that probably even the competition inside the person. Okay, the competition could be, should I stay in the team, or should I seek other opportunities outside the Philippines? Did you get that?
Yep.
Okay, and these are the areas that
Yes.
we don't know. Okay, and that's why, again, just reiterating what I said a while ago, rather than judge, empathize. Rather than put downs, okay, support. And again, okay, respect the person. Okay, respect his decision because that person, okay, has his own personal struggles, personal journey, both as a person and as an athlete.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Doc. Ikaw, Dave, you have any thoughts on this, or go?
Sige, Doc, kasi let's be honest, Doc, like this is my personal opinion. I don't know if you agree with me or not naman ngayon din. Pero sa akin lang, Doc, is mahirap sa Pilipinas mismo magdi-discuss ng mental health. Like I already mentioned this before. Dahil sa usual, alam mo the usual traditional old school thinking kasi. And the fact that sadly to say a lot of people struggle. Not just athletes but a lot of people here in the Philippines, and the fact that mahiya sila mag-express kasi they might get the same old answers from their relatives, from their parents, and then alam mo naman din lalo na kung nasa close community, chismis is always one of those things that is going to happen. How can we break that? How can we break the stigma po? Like in your opinion, I know it's a very broad question po. I know it's a very difficult one, but we want to get a perspective from you lang po. Kasi I mean, let's be honest, like all of us, including me and Jamer, we had very dark days po. And the fact that it was difficult for us, especially in a Filipino environment. Pero sa tingin mo po, like does like more or less parang two questions in one, like how can we change that, and is the Philippines really ready to break the stigma? Sorry kung medyo broad that question.
Yeah, sir. How would I start? Okay, first, I would like to express what I'm observing at this point, that more and more, okay, the Filipino society at this point is more open in terms of discussing about mental health and consequently seeking mental health services if it is necessary. Okay, as a proof of that, okay, you are doing this. Correct? You are doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, informing the public about the importance of mental health, particularly on how we could support our athletes. Okay, now going back to your question, I would like to reinforce again the notion of focus only what you can control and not on what you cannot control. Okay, now breaking that stigma, it's like a grand, ambitious goal or dream. Okay? And more often than not, it is not difficult to break the impossible. Okay, why? Okay, again, this is psychologically because it's already in the because it's already in the collective psyche or mindset of of people in general, not only Filipinos. And how can you correct that? How can you correct that if that stigma is already collectively exhibited by the culture, by the people, and to make things complicated, it's literally passed on from generation to generation. Did you get that, Sir Dave? Okay. It perhaps again, okay, it could be very tough, if not an impossible mission. Okay, now so that is diverting from what you not control. Now going to what you could control. Okay, now if you are a person or an athlete who is exhibiting already signs and symptoms of mental disturbance, yet you have second thoughts of doing so. Okay, what can you do is not open up to the general public, but only open up to trusted persons. Did you get that? Okay, trusted persons, your friends, family members, na hindi kayo chichismis. Pero bagkos, ide-direct ka pa, okay, kung kanino ka pupunta, okay, kung kanino ka pukonsulta. And that's the idea. It's just a matter of sharing your experience, your difficulties, and the right time, the right place, the right opportunity, the right person, and of course, the right manner. Okay? So, but speaking of right manner, okay, you don't post to social media that I'm depressed, that I'm bipolar. Okay, but probably, okay, you could safely say that to a trustworthy person, na I think, okay, can I talk to you? I think I'm starting to exhibit this. And in that manner, okay, in that manner, yung environment and social circle, mag-encourage dun sa tao, dun sa atleta, na again, seek psychological consultation rather than being disheartened or discouraged. Ganun po yung pananaw ko dyan, Sir Lee.
I mean, you know, thank you very much for that answer. Kasi, you know, at the end of the day, you know, parang sa akin lang kasi, it's, I'm actually lost for words kasi it's very insightful, sir. We're thankful talaga for
We
having you
needed
as a
that.
guest. We actually, not just only for athletes, actually, para din sa amin eh. So,
In general na po.
in general na naman din. Pero sige, before I put back to my colleague here, Tito J or Jamer, I would like to discuss you bakit yung background namin is Reach Out with Alec po. So, mga pamangkikers, we have this background called Reach Out with Alec. So it is 4 simple steps. Use Alec to help you navigate a conversation with someone who might be struggling. So if you could see, letter A means ask. Start by asking how they're feeling. Mention anything you've noticed. For example, how come they've stopped replying to text? That's the first. L is listen. Give them your full attention. Let them know you're listening. E is encourage action. Help him or her to focus on simple things that could prove how he or she feels. And C, check in. You know, you could follow up your chat with a phone call or a video call to see how they're feeling. So, mga pamangkikers, you know, you could use these 4 simple steps, Alec, so which is ask, listen, encouraging action, and, you know, check in. I mean, at the end of the day, guys, I mean, you know, I think even Doc could agree with me and Jamer, at the end of the day, tao naman din tayo, and it's not, weakness is okay po. It is okay not to be okay.
Yes.
And tao naman, it is okay not to be okay. And at the end of the day po, tao naman din kayo, hindi kayo makina, wala kayong mga parts na pwede kayo mapunta sa vulcanizing or sa mekaniko. At the end of the day, you're still human, and it's okay to be at denial. I mean, it takes steps naman po. So if just baby steps na lang po. Take your time. Sige, back to you, Jamer.
Thanks, Tito Johnny Pompo, for that. I mean, yeah, with this show, we've launched this campaign called Reach Out with Alec, and I really admire Dave out here putting this out for everyone. Because it's very important, especially in these trying times. And to be honest with you, we receive messages. We receive messages from our pamangkikers as well. Na because of this show, they're getting a little bit different insight in terms of the sport. Because of this show, nagbabago pananaw nila sa buhay. And we do appreciate all those messages. I mean, we're really happy to receive those kind of messages and to think we're getting these messages not from the grown-ups, not from the middle-aged ones, but we're getting this one from the younger generations, which for sure they need our guidance and they need our help. So I am really happy that we have this initiative, and you've parang cliche sabihin, pero you've heard it here first, the reach out with with Alec, na we have this kind of we really have this kind of initiative. So yeah, thank you so much, Dave. And also I want to just give a quick shout out to our dearest supporter out here, Nathan Berdera, and Kyla Hanin. Thank you so much. I mean, you're giving us a different meaning to what we do here in Eat Sleep Breed Football. So hence the reason why.
Dahil din sa inyo, sorry if I interrupted
Yeah.
you, Tita J. Dahil din sa inyo, not just kay Nathan and kay Kyla, but all the pamangkikers, especially sa GC ng football, futsal players.
Yeah.
If it weren't for you guys, walang ESBF, walang
Yeah.
Eat Sleep Breed Football. We support you, but at the same time overwhelmed lang kami sa inyong support towards us. And any advice you want, we titos are always here to give it to you. And just remember, kahit football player kayo, kahit athlete kayo, it's okay not to be okay po, because there's always going to be down days naman din po. So don't be hard on yourself. If there's a bad training day or a bad game and ganyan, don't worry po. It's it happens po. It's not always rainbow and sunshine, but in the end of the day, you just have to learn how to move forward slowly, but take your time lang po, and don't be too harsh on yourself po, kasi at the end of the day, like what Doc said, focus on what you have na lang. Don't focus on the external part. Just take your time and just try to do it slowly on your own pace. So yan.
And yeah, I mean, I just want to go back to the intro video that we've made earlier before we start the show. If you were able to notice, those are professional players giving or telling you what they've experienced. No, there's one from the Arsenal FC women's team, and then there's another one who was a former professional player in England. So yeah, I mean, these are professional players, mind you, and they open up, and they even push the initiative to the leagues and to the management to do something about it, to give more focus on it. So we hope in the next coming years of Philippine football. I mean, right now, even though that football is kind of successful in the Philippines because of what the country has achieved over the last 10 years, we're still in the developmental process of it in terms of local football. So I hope in the future this will be included in the action plan of each and every squads, as well as the league, for our players, para hindi rin sila mahirapan in their journey as professional players, because I'm pretty sure PFL and every club here in the Philippines intend to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, leagues and clubs in Southeast Asia and in Asia. So, yun, I think that's about it for me. Doc, do you have anything else that you'd like to say? Anyone else that you'd like to greet or promote? Now's the time, Doc.
Yeah, thank you for Sir Jamer. Yeah, first and foremost, just like what you did a while ago, shout out to Payum and Canlas clan. And for Filipinos, for the youth, for your viewers at this point, in terms of promoting your mental health, things, help yourself, seek for support from your significant others, and as well as professional support if needed. Okay, and I guess that's it. Okay, and Sir Jamer, Sir David, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Okay, our athletes, football players, and the public in general.
Mm.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Doc, for joining us tonight. I mean, it's been an insightful, very insightful episode of the Eat, Sleep, Breathe Football. People might notice that we've gone out of the football element of it, but tignan nyo yung, look into the between the lines. It's still there. It's still involving football. So, before I wrap up, Dave, any shoutouts, anything else that you'd like to do or promote?
Okay, sure. Again, thank you again for Dr. Rodel Canlas for joining us. We really appreciate your time and your effort to be here with us. Shout out obviously to my other three colleagues in my basketball podcast called the Basketball Zen. We public every Sunday. We talk about everything about NBA. Check out also my show, the What's Up Football and Formula One show. We talk about international football and more and motor sports. And shout out also to Against the World Clothing, and obviously I forgot to get this hotline. There is a hotline for if you have any difficulties in like that, mental health hotline. I forgot what was the hotline kasi I don't wanna like search separately on the spot naman din. Pero there is naman, and it is available. We'll try to put it sa post later on.
Yep.
And obviously the biggest shout outs obviously to our pamangkikers, our beloved pamangkikers, and fans for always supporting us since day one. And in dark times, in bright times, we're always together. So big shout out to you, to all.
Alright.
Sir Jaber, Sir David,
Yes,
if
po.
you don't mind, last on my part.
Sure.
Sure.
So instead of promotion, so for our national athletes and coaches, so the sports psychology unit of MSAS of PSI is here for you. You could actually check our Facebook and Instagram account for you to reach us out.
Yes. Reach out to the Philippine Sports Commission or the PSC Sports Psychology Unit. At the start of the show, we've shown the video of the services that they do offer. So, if there are any national athletes out there who's listening or watching this, please head on to their Facebook page to look into their services. You one way for sure you're gonna need it as well to help you strengthen yourself mentally. So, yep. Yeah. Before I wrap this show up, I mean, in terms of support, Dave, you've given thanks to our pamangkikers, to everyone who's been supporting us since day one, and I just want to do this to thank one of someone who's been helping us a lot as well. You might not notice it, but he's been helping us a lot during this show, and we just want to introduce to you one of the newest members of the Eat Sleep Breathe. Yeah, the ESBF gang. He's a very passionate fan from Iloilo. Of course, you know what club he support. He's been with us as well in one of the PFL Inside the Bubble shows. Let's all welcome our dear friend and our dear colleague out here, Luke Transporto. Luke, if you can turn on your mic and your camera para makita ka lang saglit ng ating mga pamangkikers. Or, kaya ko bang gawin sa end ko yan?
Kaya mo ba?
Ayan. He has his mic on, so if you can, ayan.
Ayan.
So there,
Ayan.
Luke, one of the newest. He's actually the newest member of the Eat Sleep Breathe Football gang. Started off, I think last week or if I'm not
last week. Parang last week.
Last week he started with us, and with his help, we have reached around 4,200, 4,300 likes.
Almost 4-3.
Almost 4-3. So, Luke, we just want to get your thoughts on tonight's discussion. I know that we've been discussing this among our GC as well, and how was the episode for you, and how do you feel now that you're part of the ESBF gang?
Well, first of all, thank you everyone for this opportunity to be a part of this amazing show and this advocacy. Siguro yung i-add ko na lang is, definitely it's okay to be not okay. But we should keep in mind that staying not okay is definitely not good. That's why we have to take our personal steps and initiative to, sabi ni Dr. Del, to reach out. Because if we don't reach out, we can't expect help naman unless there are people who are trained to read in between the lines sa mga behavior ng mga tao. So ayun, do not be afraid. It's for you. We will break the stigmas na it's a toxic practice dito sa Pilipinas. So step by step lang. But most importantly is don't give up, and as long as you can, don't be afraid to seek out help. I'm very sure there are a lot of willing people that will hear you out and help you.
All right, thank you so much, Luke. One last thing before we close the show out. Since you're now the newest part of ESBF, what can our pamangkikers expect from you? Or are we gonna be seeing more of you in this show moving forward?
Sige, definitely. Just for the information of everyone na lang siguro, when Tito J invited me, I had no doubts to say yes. And mind you, I wrote them a very long letter.
A long
of
ass
saying
letter.
thanks. Yeah.
Very long
So
letter. Very
what to
long
expect
letter.
from me, siguro, for sure, I'm here now. I'm here to stay. And as much as I can, I'll share my passion in helping these guys out to promote Philippine football, to help out our pamangkikers, and ultimately to enjoy this journey with them as we help our fellow Filipinos in the football field, inside and outside of the pitch.
All right. Thank you so much, Luke. I mean, yeah, we're not expecting a lot from you, but any help will do. So yeah, again, thank you so much for everyone who's watching our show. I mean, we peaked at around 20 or 25, but that's fine so long as we put out the word out there. And yeah, we're getting closer to our very anticipated day with Against the World clothing from Davao City. So just wait for that. Mga pamangkikers will announce that. And speaking about ATW as well, tomorrow on our show with Tita Kicks, with our episode in Tita Kicks, after that show, actually, we'll be having another quiz night for a chance to win one jersey from Against the World. So we have one more to give out. We have Clark Ian Bahalan, who's going to be joining us from the previous quiz. So he has one more chance. If you want to beat him and get that shirt, make sure to visit our Facebook page and Against the World's Facebook page for more details about how you can join the said quiz night. So yeah, I'm not gonna keep everyone for long again. Thank you so much for joining us. Doc Rodel, thank you for getting out of your way and joining our show for tonight. It's been a very informative 1.5 hour that we have. We were targeting to finish it at an hour, but the pressing issues needs to be addressed, and we were able to do that. Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you for your insights and your questions. Of course, Luke, thank you so much for the help in bringing out the questions out there. So yeah, for the rest of the Eat Sleep Breathe Football gang, we would like to thank you all for watching. This has been the Eat Sleep Breathe Football Show on Facebook and on YouTube. We'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much.
This is why we eat, sleep and breathe football.